Okay.
Okay. All right. So thank you for sharing the time of the day with me today. And so I want to keep everybody in tight. And I'm very, very excited to start our monthly, only monthly meetings, since I've been missing everyone. And I've been missing just in general to reconnect with more like with a group of people. And I think Zoom has given this wonderful opportunity to reconnect and at the same time to update on what's going on. So I'm very, very excited. This is going to be on a monthly basis. This is my first Zoom reach out and connecting to the client. So next month I have decided to whatever the number of the month is. For example, today is the July, which is 7. So on a 7/7, that's my connection. Next connection will be August 8, 8/8. September 9/9. So you will never miss a beat as long as you remember what months of the year you are, that you know you can connect with me and share what's going on. So
Aelita, are they going to always be at 5:30? Do you think?
I'm going to test this out. Just maybe I'll keep the auspicious hours. Depends on the, if sometimes it's a Sunday, then we'll change. It's because days will change and we'll adapt. So, but we'll keep enough information up front, and follow me on Facebook page and follow me on the emails. So working on it. Okay. Let us begin. Hello, Yulia. Yulia, dobry вечер. Hello, Danita. I see so many lovely people. I cannot believe it. All the guests in the house. Well, today, Kai, would you share our presentation? And so today we have 3 parts of our meeting or our connection. The first part I would like to share and share my knowledge and importance of overall what's happening from the astrological point of view. The second part, I have been with the latest case, the latest greatest cases was regarding the T-Junction house. And if there's any specific questions, or maybe some people who already have the situation, will be happy to address and happy to share a real case study that I've been working on in the last week. And then as the last part would be questions, answers. If you have, please text ahead, and I will address that. And probably will be also a surprise that I would like to gift everyone with a quick update, the 15-minute update that you can sign up on my new calendar that's been linked. So it's going to be a nice way of connecting. If you have any questions, 15 minutes of the consulting, just to test it out, the system. Okay. All right. Oh, now I only see my face. So let me change that to all of us. Okay. So how it has, I mean, I wish I could unmute everybody at this time and just ask, how has your year, part of the metal rat year, has began? And I'm still smiling. I think that's a good sign. And truly, if I have to share my personal story, really, there's not much change in general. I mean, actually stayed busy, very busy, have made a huge adjustments to consult and stay connected, and still working on it. But the importance is that we are just past the summer solstice. And in Chinese astrology, as you all know, and especially within this year itself, the culmination of the pivot part, the pivot moment of the year is extraordinarily important. And I cannot emphasize enough, it's the same way how the phases of the moon change from the wave moon to the full moon, there's a significant part when we pass or during this time of the summer solstice. And the summer solstice was a week ago, but right now we just entered the sixth lunar moon. And I have some, next slide, Kai. I have some information before I start. So when we read about and think about metaphysics, or when we think about Feng Shui, when we think about the Chinese astrology, the importance is that we live in a continuous adaptation. We're adapting environment on a continuous basis. I want to read this quote from my teacher's notes. For heaven, the ruling principle is synchronicity. For earth, the ruling principle is balance. For human beings, the ruling principle is gentleness. So when we comply with the season, heavenly chi, when we recognize our conduct that way, when we reflect on our standings, where we are, who we are, and this is the pivot moment for to make the, if there are any adjustment more to make, this is the last opportunity. This particular sixth moon is for us to reflect. I want to remind you a little bit what the 2020, when I was doing my Chinese readings and presentations, the two most important elements that guide or direct the metal chi or metal rat year was the year, the element of water and element of the metal. The water about us being flexible, being a good communicators, adapting instantly, like no matter, like a water, like I will have my cup of tea here, right? So whatever liquid, whatever shape we're pouring, it adapts to the circumstances. This is one of the key testing points. I would say 2020 could not be a better year to receive this tremendous kind of adjustment, let's put it that way. Because without us self-reflecting and going with the flow, it would be impossible. And probably if you stay rigid, that you'll be broken down. If you manage in a spring to kind of adopt the shock and at the same time pivotally, interact or figure out, or maybe also slow down, depends what your sign was, and refine your actions, or make that time to bring, like in a large plate, reflect what you have, and then like really rigidly and precisely. And that's what the metal chi or metal element of the metal rat is about: detail oriented, all analytics, all data, all the capacity that you can possibly collect during this time. You can put it down to the skill and create your own refined venue to it. So take advantage. In a general terms, the first part of the year, if those who adopt it, they will succeed. This particular year, as a reminder, is something that we're gonna we kind of creating predisposition of our conduct for 2024. So there's a lot of beginnings that what we initiate in 2020, we might be able to, look at it as a success, or as the kind of final product or kind of culmination of your actions as well, not only for this particular year. This year is nothing has begun and nothing ends. It's a continuous cycle of time that we are really we have to get, like in the writing for the earth, the ruling principle is a balance. We're bringing the timeliness, the circumstances, and our capacity in balance. So this particular quarter, like a July, August, September, and especially with the month of July, we are starting the the timing of, if I had to use the correlated thinking, that been like the king has a prince, and all the knowledge the prince could have gained, all the teachings have been given, and it's now the prince has been like let loose, and just whatever he was embedded in him, if he's rebellious, he's gonna create a rebellious environment. If he's intelligent, he's gonna guide and, you know, bring it to the new light. If he's angry or depleted, then will be not much progress would be taken. So you can also self-reflect, what have you contributed, what have you also done for yourselves within the last 6 months. Now is the time of these next 3 months to step in and just the sense, the platform you are at, or integrity with like whatever that, you know, if you, everyone is out of the kind of a comfort in a sense. And more or less the ones who maybe had their big dreams and set goals and cannot be flexible probably are more impacted. But at this point, this particular July and August, and also a little bit of September, gives you a chance to be a little more on a playful mode, okay? Not too much rigidly, but playing with the skill. You are well trained by the emperor or king, and these circumstances, these situations, fortunate or unfortunate, become your learning kind of timetable for it. Next slide. Okay. The writings would say spring, summer, autumn. My screen is sorry. Yeah, spring, summer, autumn, and winter are the cycles of heaven. Mountains, hills, rivers, and valleys are the forms of earth. Praise and anger, acceptance and rejection are the devices of human beings. Next slide. Therefore, the adept alters with the seasons, but doesn't change. Moves along with the things, but doesn't transform. So this is our kind of agenda. This is what we need to do, is to adapt and not, it's just kind of adapt the flow, go with the situation, you know, take the lessons, the good or bad. There are just the lessons, and bring them to the new grounds for yourselves and for the others. This particular season, if we are looking, next slide, Kai. This particular season, looking at the months of July and August, I gave you some of the dates you would like to mark. And these are very auspicious days, days during the 6th moon. So there's a good days of July 7, that's today, 10, 11th, 15th, 20th, 23rd, and 31st. So every month I will be providing providing these kind of very auspicious days. And please feel free to also contact me when you have some major maybe decision making, moving the homes, or doing signing the contracts, or something very impactful. Feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to assist. Okay. So going back to the astrological part to it, and if you survived June, and if you behaved, that means really slowed down and had fun, like me, like I did. It happened naturally, kind of happened naturally, because the kids were kind of out of school, and I took them on a trip to Utah, and I did hikes, so kind of reset the memories of the, instead of thinking about coronavirus, I was actually hiking and climbing Corona Arch in Moab. So that was my kind of manifestation. And please have a look at some of the pictures. I had it on Facebook. The second thing was spending time camping on the Russian River. You know, swimming in my God's given birth clothes, like early in the mornings in the river, and Russian River was blissful. That was the best cooling technique possibly. And I really hope that you follow those directions and did something fun, because June and month of the horse that we passed was in a direct diametrics with the year of a rat. But we don't need to conflict with these energies if we take according move, like really become playful, slow down from your maybe rigidness, and be more flexible, like more spontaneous, or maybe just slow down and indulge a little bit, or maybe in a retrospect, look at the situation. When we look at the month of goat, water goat, this is where the open heart, kindness, compassion is a must. Of course, in a practical sense, you can also do the projects that you would like to integrate related to beauty and related to design and upgrading, decluttering. The strongest decluttering request was April, May, but if you haven't done and you have a little bit of time, I would say in small portions you could do as well. But primarily think about how to be observant, how to be, because what I mean by observant, if we're looking from the agricultural perspective, and I have a little green garden that we planted with a family early spring, and I go out there, the seeds were planted in spring. All I can do is look and admire the half ripened fruit, and those are cucumbers and tomatoes. I see them there, but I can't harvest yet. And I cannot be a cheerleader at that same time to make them, grow faster. What it requires is my human conduct is to be gentle, to provide, to assist, to create the environment that is soothing or appropriate. I mean, I can pray, like one of my teachers would say, and that's the Hanja teacher, this is where the time when historically people would pray for rain, or pray for gods to not to diminish the fields of the grain fields. So there's the significance. Even the emperor is holds his meetings traditionally in a central hall, which is the Mother Earth, standing on and gravitating to that important, that he is the ruler on the earth by the heavenly order. If we can kind of adopt that type of philosophy to it, or that kind of behavior, then we can, in retrospect, also take this month of the water goat, and with a compassionate hearts, nurture yourselves, nurture your loved ones, commemorate your ancestry. That all is a collective conduct. There's no point to dig, no point to really, if there's something has a momentum, like I would say, this particular meeting is my momentum, that there's no way back. I love it so much. I'm not gonna trigger into it. And I see Katerina is smiling, and I'm smiling it back. So I embrace this time because I truly experiencing the movement of chi this particular year. And there is a significance guidance to it if everyone takes time. So the biggest recommendation for this particular month, July, is to be compassionate, go with the momentum, don't overdo it. Think about you are that a fruit, or like I have persimmon tree right in front of me, and then there's so much promise. There's not only promise, I can see the fruit. It's just not ripened. So, but I have to be gentle. The vicious winds that we had a couple days ago, kind of dropped a lot of fruit. And that was the order of the nature. And I was accepting something you have to sacrifice something at the same time. I will keep the question. If there's any questions in this regard, I can open up the questions for a couple of minutes before we switch to the Feng Shui part. Maybe we can, any questions? Or we keep going? Yes, Katerina?
So you're saying, I saw what was written on the slide there. Are we supposed to be wearing yellow right now? And kind of, I guess, like for July, yeah, could you explain a little bit?
Yep. That's a great question. I think there was one more slide after that, Kai Buche. So regarding the yellow, it's the symbolic viewpoint of the earth. Like it's a nurturing and Mother Earth. So when it's not only in the color yellow, it's also absorbing the light and reflects the light. It's a color of the sun, the generator, the peak, the dominator of all things. The symbolically what you keep to yourself, and I think this will be a great gift to one of you at the end, is we call the yellow jade, which is either amber or citrite, the rocks. That will be kind of a talismanic that you can hold during the lunar months, the 6 lunar months, which is now, because the energy of that particular rock is reflecting with the transparency of the earth and stability of the earth. Okay. The patterns this particular time is July, is about patterns, and that's the symbol. Again, another way to look at what earth element means. It means repetition in your commitments. I'm committed to see you every month. I'm committed to my practice. Every morning, there's a few mornings in the past I have missed my qigong, my medical qigong meditation and practice, and I feel like out of balance. But going back, not kind of going back, even it's not the same time, but going back to something that it's nurturing your body and your mind is essential. Pattern equals earth chi. If somebody's out of balance, going back to the pattern is I would say one of the best ways to adjust. Grounding, bare feet, like as I said, the being in the nature in June and now bringing that back. I think this energy that I hold in me right now is because it's collectively been accumulated by doing good for me in June, not being exhausting. So hopefully these couple months that you adjusting your conduct and accepting, okay, what are my patterns, what are my rhythms, taking care, and not too much new, innovative, but just go with the routine, will be in the alignment with the month of this particular timing of the year. Yes, Ten?
Aelita, so I was wondering, I don't understand about the T-Junction, but I'm sure there's like planets who are 90 degrees from each other and all that stuff. But
I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna start the T-Junction question. The case study I will share with you this is my next topic, so I'll be happy to it. But if there is any questions, I can address those later. I will share later this slides with you and information. This is from my teacher Ming. But let's go to my second part, which is my fun part, is the T-Junction case. I don't know how many of you know or understand that the T-Junction situations, it's typically in the physical environment is quite, in some cultures, not welcomed, or would say it's a bad feng shui. And once again, those who know me in my practice, when I practice, energy is energy. Good or bad, it depends what you do with it and how you apply it and utilize it. And so I'll share you the story. It's still in a process, but this particular property, one of the interior real estate agents asked me to assist a couple of weeks ago. And I finally had the time to go down up to the San Mateo, and house has been in our market for 50 plus days and not selling. And I completely understand that sometimes when you have a perception of believing that's not good, and particularly in this case was offer came in, and the next day the clients loved it. The next day, the parents, because parents looked at the mapping and they withdraw from submitting basically making the offer. And this was where they, why is it, what's wrong with the T-Junction? So I went down there to this location in San Mateo. And I put all my Feng Shui, aspect of analyzing, and I would like to share this with you, which is so unique. Not always what we see on the maps is true by its kind of configuration, like a T-junction. So when we come to the dead end, and then it's apparently, the T-junction for business is super, super good. Did you know that? Okay. For residential, it's weaker aspect because there's a lot of chi, a lot of energy will come at the property at the house. So I can see the blue line. I don't know if you can see well, but yeah. So the blue line, the chi going up. So when you look at the Google picture like this, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely T-junction. But what I'm missing is I'm not looking at the topography. And a lot of people don't look at the topography and don't look at the highland, lowland, and what's happening in the space. So I took this opportunity last week and I actually went and examined, because if I would have just done the analysis based on a picture, it would have been not a fair evaluation, because I'm representing the land. What's unique about, so we always look at those who maybe in a business, they always look for the three primarily points when you evaluate a T-junction. You're looking at the main, of course, you're looking at the main door and how it's aligned and how the T-junction potentially is affecting. You definitely want to look at it, how big is the flow, like how busy is the actual street and T-junction impact. And you look at also the house from the topography level, what are the neighborhood, highland, lowland, and overall the side buildings, etc. So these will be just that either you are a new home buyer or seller or a resident, like just to pay attention to that. When I arrived at the space, so maybe we can go back to, next slide. Can't remember, was this is analysis I'll be happy to share. So you can go to the full, if you like the full screen. Okay. What happened was the house was located in the last part of the hill. The highest point of that area was like kind of prominently receiving the chi. The T-junction street that was coming up was in such a steep hill, not exactly like being in San Francisco, but close to, it's just, you only were able from the east side when I was approaching the house, just the first 50 yards maybe to see the street, and then it opens up to the big large view, like you actually seeing you having the best view out of all the houses on that street, because you open to the T-junction view. Because Cedar Wood went so drastically steep down that it was not an impact. One of the core, like how I tested was like, if I would have to pour the water up the, like to the wall, it's all would come back to me. So it's truly, even the traffic slows down when you approach the road. Plus the previous owners really did a nice adjustment by staggering the steps being at this doorstep. So we'll post, maybe Kay can post the address and you can go on MLS and just kind of examine yourself. But the point is, the elements were, of course, we can even make it better, that is, but misperception by not actually taking advantage. There was no neighboring houses in the back of the house of that particular property or all this. You have a oak tree grow behind you. And it's not, you don't even have to own it, but it's like partial, like you can enhance your view. So these elements instantly gave I hope it gave enough confidence to the owners and the real estate agents, buyers and sellers, that the T-Junction is not impacting this particular property. So I feel comfortable. If you know anyone who is going to be, either buying and selling home, or need assistance with the, sometimes the very common issues, like when they see the staircases at the front door or the T-Junction or cul-de-sac, please consult the expert, either on an hourly basis or do the assessment, etc. But I'll be happy to assist. We don't have to go too deep into details. The same thing, I do provide such consulting as a package deal for new home buyers, those who are in search of home, and sometimes they're not sure if the home is a good fit or if the home has a good external impact and environment. That instantly gives you an opportunity to consult, and I investigate and look at it. And I can share actually a real example. One of my COVID first clients, right on beginning of the April, I received a phone call, and the client were in a buying home in a market, and obviously the visiting the homes is limited. So someone who, I practice that, and I kind of know the Google Earth and using all the tools that really gave them a good indications. There were 2 houses on market. One was both are remodeled and renovated. And all I needed to do is to look at the addresses in an external environment. And one of those houses, which client was kind of debating, had a major power lines within 100 yards. And the major power lines, if you want to have it as an investment for renting it out, or maybe to have a short live, those properties probably would have been okay to own it. But if you're planning to settle and move into your dream home, that definitely I guided my client to say, no, this is, even if the price is very attractive, this is not good for your health. So again, it was a nice pivot moment, and I felt very good about it, that consulting prior you make major decisions, such as buying home, moving, renovating, changing walls, or whatever that is. Or maybe also something happens to your personal something in your rhythm of the work or rhythm of your health. It is, Feng Shui is a living art. So do you adjust continuously, and our job is to identify what are the weaknesses, or maybe where the disbalance, or maybe you are too fast of something, or maybe some situations, some circumstances are giving you that type of kind of slowing you down unexpectedly. But sometimes it's also timely. So I really hope that this house is gonna sell. I gave them my blessing, virtual blessing, and I wish the good luck. And all I want to say is, I hope I help to diminish the misleading perception about something that is actually a good property in the market. So, and well, I'm pretty much good on time. So we have another 20 plus minutes to maybe share some questions, some stories, and I will take a sip of tea. And I see there's a message on the chat. So we can open up, and any questions, any comments, any shares, any new projects that you're going through, or?
Yes, I don't
Yes,
know.
Kanika, go ahead. Or
I have suddenly had a major shift in my life, because suddenly in like June, you said, June, what has happened is that we have been told to move to Princeton, New Jersey. So in the next week, we are moving.
good.
It's about 2 years move, and then everything has just fallen in place for us, that we are even thinking of buying a house there rather than renting for about 2-3 years, because we will be back, hopefully,
Yeah.
to California.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because I always come back. Since 1998, I've been here. So I go back, I go somewhere, and then I'm back again,
But
bouncing back. So I don't know. I hope I'm not just like a bouncing ball all
no,
over.
and we,
So
no,
like
and
the change, it was a shock to me, because suddenly, like it has been like the melting thing has been happening since April, May, June, slowly. And then suddenly the decision had to be taken. It was because of whatever COVID or whatever you may say, but I believe that yes, something, it's more than that. Everything is happening in the environment, like you said. You can't blame something, pinpoint something. So it's a major shift. So now I know it's okay. I was not digesting it very well, because my boys are arriving next Thursday. So it's like, oh, so quickly. So I will be connected with the Bay Area. I will be working there because I still have my license here. But
all right, sounds good.
everything just fell in place. Otherwise, earlier I would not have been able to do that. Now I can
That's
do with
perfect.
my partner here. We can both. So it's a big move. It's a big shift. I'm excited now
Awesome.
after your talk. Rather than getting depressed, and you said, like, I wrote it down. I've been decluttering a lot. So I think it's,
Good.
and like you said, those things are happening. So it's nice. Thank you for at least letting me know that it's not something which is out of the ordinary for me. So
Good.
just want to share that.
Okay,
Aelita,
that's exciting. Yes.
so what do you make? I mean, it's been a really rough year for everybody, right? what do you know, and I can understand this time of forced pausing, which I've embraced, because, you know, when are you ever going to get this much time with your children and stuff?
Yep.
But what has the sign said about, you know, this really quite intense time? Because I'm keeping my hope up, I'm keeping my faith up, I'm in my cocoon ready to transform. But I mean, I want to hear what you think and what, you know, the signs are all saying about this.
You mean about US, or about what?
You know,
Or in general?
okay, so self-quarantine for 4 months is not usual, right? And then you know, you know, it's not a guarantee that school, you know, I hope, you know, I'm gonna create that school's gonna go back in September, right?
Yeah.
The whole asking everybody on this earth to just really be able to keep their own company and not go mad, and to like themselves and to like the people they're with, you know. And
But this is a great opportunity we cannot run away from there's some, I don't know who's there's one is muted. There's a sound on the side. I don't know who is that. Okay, so once again, could not be a better time to take place than the 2020. Based on like all the characteristics of the year, you know, how the metal rat is like last, you know, it cannot be better time, because just honestly looking what the humanity, and especially in the Western part, where how much we were consuming, indulging, overspending, not really nurturing, and everything that was given and taken from Earth, we're not balanced with our energetical and our spiritual aspect to balance, because And why I'm saying that, we're studying right now, I'm studying with the Sifu Johnson and continue with Sifu Kelly and studying the Taoism and medical Qigong. And realizing that where our essence of the three bodies, you know, me, a physical body, energy body, and our spiritual body is aligned. The previous conduct was not good enough to sustain next cycle of 12 or 20 or decades. We know that. I mean, I'm the mother, and I know if the world would have continued in that perception, our children and grandchildren would not benefit. The spiritual aspect, the conduct, the energetical aspect was definitely mismatched with our human capacity. This particular year, I believe, is that reset to tap into our, you know, true human nature and reset that conduct, because it's gonna take a generation or two. And if that would have, you know, if the previous behavior of, let's say, you know, universally would continue, I don't think the earth would be the best place to be sustained. I would say, and because the year comes with this precision and refinement and knowledge and wisdom as a metal chi, that means we're tapping into ancestral aspect of things. It's a pure heavenly gift. Our part is to stay on our 2 feet and let go. The same way, you know, the one, maybe it's, I don't know how about you, but when I look about passing or, you know, dying, the concept is like, it's for sure it's gonna take place. And what do I take that with me at that moment? You start reflecting. It's like, what I cultivate or accumulate, or what my goals are do I want to spend my time making money to get the better car, or do I spend my mind to cultivating and paying my teachers to be a better person? I choose the second. So this is truly a wake-up call to, you know, how many Mantic arts practitioners, spiritual leaders, you know, healers, finally are coming out of their shell because they have no other way to assist. And this becomes an opportunity. It is maybe, yeah, economy, that's another sense. Is, I think there's a bigger political and economical issues that it's a world redivision probably takes place. But we still look at our world from our family self, from our being in your own home. So when we make our reconnect or like readjustments in our physical environment in a household, when we implementing back to tradition, baking bread and sharing and calling, you know, like how many clubs of the how many people joined in the first month on sourdough bread making? Thousands. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the ancestral recipe. I personally got 1847 original yeast, like a starter for I'm not kidding, that was the company in Oregon. So the things that we came back, you know, planting my own, I mean, I have a garden, but you know, planting with my daughter and teaching her and saying, it's like, yeah, we did it. But this is something is how we cultivate the land agriculturally and practically, and what we do with those of anything that relates to food and water for this end of this year and the next year is going to be crucial. So
Aelita?
we have to be modest. We cannot overindulge. This is the time when, if we bring the time, I just have chills. Thank you, universe. if we can redefine our resources, this is a time not about sitting on the money, but actually cultivating the skill, refinement. What are we good at? What do we love to do? Why am I born on this earth in this second? What is my what is my mission? Who am I? And do I want to pass with the feeling of overindulged, picked out, or with the sense of sharing, giving, supporting, expanding, and resetting? And I said this year, I'm not waiting for this year to end, if I may say that, not because of what it done, but how much shift, how big the pivot moment it energetically has been. And those who maybe as at the very beginning, early state of their spiritual path, and it's not ism, it's not about specific religion, but just your inner self, your open heartedness and feeling as any human being should be doing, being kind, being generous, being humbled, being modest, being being all the good we can be. Then this year is going to be a good year for the next decade. I hope I answered the question. Katerina, I know you had a question before.
No, I think I'm good right now. I think Kay had a question.
Oh, and Yulia has a question, right?
I was just going to point you to Yulia's question in the chat. Do you want me to read it, Yulia? Or
that's okay. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you, Kay. I think, Aelita, thank you so much. That's so beautiful. Thank you for hosting us. My question was kind of about this month. Are there any daily rituals that you would recommend just for ourselves? I mean, I think you said something a little bit already about kind of cultivating, contemplating, kind of what do you love to do and all of these. But is there anything else that you would recommend for ourselves to do this month and also in the home as well? Okay. Just June. July. Yes. Right.
Yeah. I mean, to cultivate the earth chi is coming back to the tradition. And that would be and I know I have kids and probably a lot of families have kids and don't know what to do with them, is to get in a rhythm, saying, okay, every Sunday we're sleeping in, and after that we are all cooking and having brunch. Or so something that is you doing it as almost like creating a tradition. That's number one. Of course, you can start with your own tradition for yourself. Holding it back in your heart, if you have any grief or anxiety or anything that's heavy, I highly recommend to write it out. Write it out, and probably I can select some days to even burn it. Release it to heavens, through the ashes, through the burn, through the smoke, everything that you've been holding within, you releasing it, and either you resolving it for better results, or you having an opportunity to to manifest something better to replace it, but be at ease, basically reloading the backpack. Homes, I would not particularly be keen of starting major renovate, like right now, I decided I don't like my front yard and that will be a little like unplanned, will be too kind of, no, not a good thing. But if you try to declutter and beautify or comfort, especially during the day when it's really hot, hot in Los Gatos. So if you want to stay in and have a small project, or taking a nap is perfectly fine in the heat. what we don't want to have happened, and I think some of the TCM doctors would even correct me better, is to trap the heat in between our skin, because that's going to come back as a phlegm in November, October, November. And that's an epidemic. So I'm looking at this month of July of almost like, you know, how you've been cycling going up the hill on the bike, right? And I have an e-bike. So you're going up the hill and then you are on the hook and you are just like riding down, like, you know, it's gentle wind. That's the momentum you want to maintain during the July. Okay. Opening up to letting the fresh air every morning. It's a must. And every night, and listening to crickets and birds. Crickets and birds is a bliss. So spend time in the areas where you have, when you actually experiencing a lot of birds and a lot of kind of the nature, because that means that vegetation around it is very healthy and very harmonious. And that's in your spiritual realm, your vibration, your field is kind of almost like merging. And truly that's the things you can do and nurture your spiritual aspect and your energetical aspect, in addition to everything that you visually can experience. Yulia, I hope I answer your question. But writing the journal is one of the best and quickest ways. And I would separate two journals. If you have something for good experience, collect that. And if you have something that you want to write it out on all the negativity, keep doing it. And then you can keep the good one for life. And then you can burn the bad ones for, you know, to release it. So I can show you, I have, this is my very simple book where I actually share sometimes I see the dream and I instantly, you know, kind of putting it down and dashing it. So, or, you know, some kind of signage. So I'm practically using, and this is very like in a pocket, and I don't, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good practice. So, all right. Well, we have last 5 minutes, and I hope I have who do I have here overall? So, oh, great, party of 8, fantastic. So we party of 8, you get a half an hour of visiting and consulting on Zoom with me, no charge. And you can have any question answered because you've been supporting me in my big momentum. And I can arrange that. You can text me, or maybe Kay can collect the information, or maybe I'll take a quick screenshot that I know who are the lucky ones.
Can you put your email in the chat for me?
The ones who, yeah. So Michelle, Danita, Katerina, Yulia, Elizabeth, Kanika.
And I'll contact you.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, so last 4 minutes, and so we're gonna host another Zoom live on, guess when? In August 8th, 8/8. So it's not hard to forget, right? The time I will acknowledge, the registration will be the same. Maybe for your list, it's gonna, the information go directly if you're interested to join me. That'll be fantastic. If not, it's okay too, just to follow me on Facebook or on my Facebook page, on Instagram. And if there's any other events you would like to present, I love to be open to opportunities. And if I had to share one secret, it's going to be quiet. We are working on opening or registering the Feng Shui school. So I'm super excited about that.
I would like to be your student.
Thank you. So
Reading.
it's a
And
big,
learn whatever you have to impart.
all right. So thank you. So that's in the works. It's actually has to happen, because I love teaching, and currently Golden Gate School in person, they don't teach. That program is kind of put on stop. I'm unstoppable. And I am, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it all practically and technically gonna be achieved. But otherwise, yeah, I'm looking forward to this a new decade for me. Those who have consulted astrology with me before, they know there's a lot about the Ming Palace and 10-year decade. Well, the news is that my Ming Palace, I entered my 10-year life palace in Ming this year. So it's a big journey. Yes, Katerina.
My friend, I'm sorry, I don't know what the Ming Palace is, and what does it mean when you enter it this year?
Well, for when those who have done the astrology readings with me, and Katerina, we haven't, and I'll be happy to do that. But in Chinese astrology, when we have the year, the month, the day, and the hour, and creating the chart, let's say I have a chart right here. We come to the point in life, then we can see our whole life. Sorry, I thought I had a chart here. The whole life, let's say 120 plus years, are in its own format, and lifetime is kind of divided in a 10-year decades, and for each person, that decade of manifestation of certain element, or like becoming a partner, or becoming a parent, it changes. And Ming Palace is the palace of wisdom, or we call the life destiny palace. And this is only once in a lifetime, and it comes in a decade. So for me personally, I entered my 10-year decade at age 52, where some clients who I know have entered, earlier or later, depends on but I know so it's a significant, it's a footprint that you leave and understand, or finding your mission, why you are born, and what is your mission, what you meant to do. And honestly, I'm grateful that this lifetime, things that I do as a Feng Shui practitioner, I have found my calling, and I cannot imagine doing anything else than be at service to do what I do in Amantic Arts. So thank you, Catherine, for the question. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's wonderful to see you in your bliss, doing your thing and sharing your wisdom. It's very inspiring.
Well, I have to acknowledge, like, I have a dear client, Danita is hiding there, and Yulia and Michelle. You know that this particular month, especially working with Katerina, has been inspiring. And it's been not easy. And Kay is right there, humbly, taking care of the meeting logistics. I am super grateful, because if I can, this will be off the recording, but I can share with you something.